elastic deformation. If you remember when I was talking about stress, engineering stress versus engineering strain curve, where I have shown you the elastic region and plastic region, right? That means, suppose you have an alloy or you have a metal and you want to load it in tensile mode, for example. You have an alloy, suppose this is a piece of alloy and you want to load it in tensile mode, for example. This is a tension, I told, tensile force. This is what will happen. With increasing the force, the sample will become thinner, but the length will increase. There is an elongation, right? Condition applied if this is a ductile material, right? Then only it will elongate, and it will elongate more and more and more. Finally, it will fracture at the end. After a lot of elongation, it will get fracture. Fracture means it will become two part, right? Okay. So, and we can draw a stress versus strain curve, and we can show at what point plastic deformation initiates, or what is the end of elastic deformation limit, and at what stress plastic deformation will start, or there is the onset of plastic deformation. You remember the graph, right? Engineering strain. This is engineering stress. Right? So how it will be? There will be a complete straight line, right, which is showing you proportionality limit, right, up to, that means stress is proportional to strain. Then after some time, again it will grow and finally it will go and here, so fracture also. Or this point is showing something, this top portion is showing something, and this one also showing something, right? These are the 3 points we are getting at in the stress axis, right? Fine. So anybody remember what is this stress called? Yield stress. Very good. And what is this stress called? Fracture stress. And what is this? Ultimate tensile stress. You know that. Very good. Right? Ultimate tensile stress means when you are loading it and you are increasing the force. You are increasing the force with time, right? That means that is the last stress the material can handle, right? After that the material cannot handle lot of load, right? And anybody remember, that means at this much of stress, if you increase the stress value, what will happen? Plastic deformation will initiate in the material. And below this stress, if you release the load, what will happen? It will come back to its original shape. Suppose this is the initial dimension, the dimension will remain same. But the point you move to this point or this point or this point or this point or any of this point, then there will be a permanent elongation will be there. It will not come back to its original shape. Already it is plastical. Plastic deformation means it is a permanent deformation, right? You can write here otherwise. Permanent deformation. It is nothing but a plastic deformation. Okay, fine. So that means, anybody remember from this point, from here to here, what is the phenomenon happening? What kind of phenomenon occurs? Hardening, yeah. That hardening is due to strain. That is called strain hardening, right? I have already uploaded a video, you can have a look. You will get a question in the end semester. What is strain hardening and how strain hardening comes into a material? Let me tell you some points, right? Strain hardening occurs due to generation of dislocations. It doesn't mean when we solidify any metal, dislocation will be there. That is extra half plane of atom, if you remember in the previous class, right? Dislocation is a extra half plane of atom. It sometimes obtained during solidification. When liquid metal becomes solid or liquid alloy becomes solid, dislocation will be there, right? But it is not always true. But when you start deforming plastically something, dislocation automatically generates. It multiplies. And that mechanism is called Frank-Reed source. Everything I have discussed that in YouTube video, you can check it. The explanation was good, you can check it. Strain hardening. Strain hardening 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 videos are there completely. So you understood the thing is what? Let me give an example. Right. Suppose two people are sitting in this room and they want to escape out from this room. They can easily escape out, right? Through this door, right? But now lot of people are there and you all want to escape out. So there will be hindrance. You cannot, one person will push another person will push another, right? So this will same thing happens in the materials. If you have a few number of dislocations, they can easily glide. You have seen the mechanism of dislocation motion. They can glide, they can climb, or they can cross it. It depends upon what kind of dislocation is present, right? It is okay? So if lot of dislocations will be there, they cannot easily move. They repel one another, or they get stuck. Suppose this is one plane and this is one plane. They are intersecting, right? This is one plane and this is one plane. One dislocation is like moving like this and the dislocation is moving like this. So what will happen? They will interact, they will stop. They cannot move. But if these are two planes, these two dislocation can easily move. There is no problem, right? So that means if lot of dislocation will generate in a material, what happens to the strength? Strength will increase, right? A simple concept. If you want to increase the strength of any metallic materials, you have to prevent the motion of dislocations. Or you have to do something so that dislocation cannot easily move. It will stuck. Then you have to apply more load, then only it can move further. So that is happening here. From here to here, what is happening, you understand? Plastic deformation starts. From this point, plastic deformation starts. Once plastic deformation starts, new dislocation will generate in the material. And when the amount of dislocation will be very more, they cannot move easily. If they cannot move easily, strength increases. That's why the stress is increasing. The stress value is showing you what? Strength. Y-axis is showing you the strength, right? And x-axis is showing you what? Ductility. Elongation. Ductility, it is showing you ductility. That means, suppose your fracture will happen at this point. What it means? You have more ductility in the material. Because it starts from here and this is a strain axis. Strain means delta L by L, you remember. Delta L is the final length minus initial length. And delta L by L0 otherwise. Delta L is this is L1 minus L0 by L0. Anybody remember what is L0? That is the initial length. But initial length of what? Gauge length. We are not considering the whole length of the tensile specimen. You remember the tensile specimens I have shown you? Okay, I'll show you again otherwise. I'll show you a real picture of that. That is the gauge length. Why we are focusing on gauge length? Anybody tell me? Why we focus on the gauge length, not entire length? Because that particular region is having uniform cross section. Just beyond the gauge length you have a curvature and you have thicker dimension. Thicker dimension is for holding. That will be held by the machine, right? But the gauge length area is uniform completely. In that area we want to do elongation, and in that area fracture should occur at the end. It should not occur different way, right? Sometimes fractures may occur near to the curvature. Can anybody think of that? Why it may occur? Maybe due to any defect present at that position. Where there is a defect, that is the problem. Fracture may occur in that position, right? That is wrong with something during melting and casting. That is different. That is called defects during casting. So defect during casting is different from crystalline defects. Okay, anyways, those are very big defects. Anyway, you understood that point? So this is more ductility. Suppose your fracture occurs at this point. Okay, it goes to this point and it fractures. What it means? You have less ductility. Material is less ductile, right? But if it goes like this and come like this, so what it means? High strength. This axis is showing the strength. You can see UTS is going high and high, right? Initially your UTS was this much. Finally, new material is having UTS of this much. But what happens to the ductility? It decreases. Strength and ductility are opposite. If strength will becoming more and more, ductility will reduce. Right? You understand? In other way, if ductility will be more, strength will go down. It is okay, fine? These are simple concepts. I have explained that in videos. You can have a look. Okay. So next is, now the question is, anybody remember how plastic deformation initiates? Or what is the mechanism called? In the previous lecture we have discussed that. Motion of dislocations. Dislocation is moving. That means plastic deformation is happening inside the material. And mechanism is called slip. I told slip, right? Slip mechanism. Okay, anyways, we'll discuss that. Okay, fine. There is a question: crystal structure change or not during plastic deformation? Whether the crystal structure will remain same or not. Suppose you are taking a titanium. Titanium is having HCP crystal structure, hexagonal close packed. You are deforming it, plastically, permanently. So this HCP structure will remain, or it will become some BCC or something else. That is the question. Can anybody guess? What will the answer? It will remain as. Suppose you are having a BCC, iron in BCC form, body center cubic iron. You are deforming it plastically. So this BCC iron will remain as BCC or it will change? The crystal structure will change or remain same after plastic deformation?
Same.
That is the question I have. He said no, there will be no change.
Same.
Basically it will remain same. But there is a condition when it will change, and that condition is martensitic transformation. You have to remember that. You remember martensite?
Yes.
Very hard and brittle phase. When we do quenching from austenitizing temperature. That was I was discussing in heat treatment part. Heat treatment part, you can check it. So when martensite forms, plastic deformation happens, but there is a change in crystal structure. Right? That is the only exception. That is the only exception. But basically, whenever you are deforming any metal plastically, there will be no change in crystal structure. Crystal structure never change. Right? Okay, fine. Let me show you one way. Suppose this is undeformed alloy, for example, and it deformed. And this may be a one situation, or this may be another situation. This is both are deformed. So this is initial undeformed alloy, and now these are two plastically deformed alloy. So what is this? Each box will be what? Is a unit cell. You remember? Each box is nothing but a unit cell, right? And crystal structure is determined by unit cells, right? Because FCC have a particular unit cell, BCC have a particular unit cell, HCP have a particular, all have particular unit cells. Because in unit cells, there is a particular arrangement of atoms that defines the structure at the end, right? You understand my point? So that means, if after plastic deformation, if unit cell will change, then there will be a change in crystal structure. But if unit cell will not change, there is no change in crystal structure. Everybody remember unit cell, right? That is the smallest unit which defines the entire crystal. Because if you take a single unit cell, you multiply it in 3 dimensions, it will give rise to your main crystal at the end, right? That is the smallest unit. So this is a situation. So if the situation may be like this, after deformation, or the situation may be like this. So just have a look. So where the unit cell is changing. In the second case, the first case unit cell was same, right? So this is wrong actually. This never happens. During plastic deformation or after plastic deformation, unit cell never change its shape basically. It can change its orientation. You have to remember. It can change its orientation. But the shape of the unit cell will not change. That means crystal structure is not changing after plastic deformation. It remains same always. You can see there is no change. Unit cell जैसा था ऐसे ही, right? But यहाँ पे चेंज हुआ है थोड़ा बहुत, राइट. सो दिस इज द राइट. सो आई कैन से नो चेंज. But this one is showing you change in crystal structure, which is not correct. But after plastic deformation, what happens to the material? The external shape change only, right? That means the material will become thinner and thinner and thinner, right? With deformation. More is the extent of deformation, more will be the reduction in the cross-sectional area or reduction in the thickness. Any of one you can say, right? So after plastic deformation, only the external shape change, but there is no change in shape of the unit cell. Unit cell will remain as unit cell only, same unit cell, right? So there is no change in crystal structure. So conclusion is what? After plastic deformation, there will be no change in crystal structure, right? Unit cell do not change its shape. Unit cell only change its orientation, right? But there will be a change in the cross-sectional area, or there is a change in the thickness of the material. It becomes thinner and thinner, right? Suppose you are doing 20% reduction, you are doing 80% reduction. So obviously in 80% reduction, the thickness will be very minimum. In 20% it will be thicker somewhat, right? But how I can justify? I want to justify how unit cell is not changing its shape. Just have a look. So this is, for example, what? Okay. This is undeformed. This is undeformed alloy. And you understand this is again unit cell, right? These are one unit cells. This is undeformed. Now you do plastic deformation. So what will happen? If unit cell is not changing its shape and only the cross-sectional area is changing or the external shape is changing, what happens? This unit cell glides over one another. Simply. The top unit cell will glide on the bottom one, bottom unit cell will glide on the bottom one, like this will happen. So the situation will be, just imagine what will be there. So you make it fixed. The bottom one you make it fixed. 1, 2, 3, 4 now. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, fine. So next will be it is okay. That means this unit cell has slipped on this plane. So next one will be from here. Fine. And last one will be so what is happening exactly? Slip is happening, right? This is fixed. That means there will be a what kind of thing? Shear. I told you, right? If there will be no shear, there will be no plastic deformation. You may give a tensile force or tensile load, but that load will be like shear one along the slip plane and direction, then only slip will occur. Otherwise slip will never occur. If tensile stress is acting on the slip plane, there will be no deformation. Only shear load should be there or shear stress should be acting on the plane. Then only it will happen. I have made a video, critical resolved shear stress. You can check it. CRSS, critical resolved shear stress. I have explained it over there. Okay, fine. So tell me now, which one? What is our slip direction and slip plane? I told you slip never occurs in random plane or random direction. It will only occur along the closed pad plane and closed pad directions, right? Those are called slip plane and slip directions. And you have to remember slip direction may be anywhere, but slip direction should also present on the slip plane. Then only it will occur, right? You can have a slip plane, but you can have a lot of direction also. But sleep directions, even if there will be no sleep will never occur. Condition is there will be a sleep plane and sleep direction should be also on the sleep plane. Then only sleep will occur, or this plastic deformation will occur, or dislocation will move. Sleep is happening means dislocation is moving. Simple concept. Right? The extra plane of atom is moving on the sleep plane and sleep direction. So what is the direction? It is visible. Direction is this one. Clear? No, this one direction. So direction is this one, and sleep planes are, this is one sleep plane, right? This is one sleep plane and this is one sleep plane where the sleep is happening. You can see this part is gliding on this plane only, and this top part is gliding on this plane, and this top part is gliding on this plane, and direction are right side, left to right. Very simple. So I can write this one. So this is your, this orange, these are your sleep plane. If somebody will ask what is sleep plane, just tell them sleep planes are closed packed plane where atomic density is maximum, or I can say planar density. You remember we have calculated linear density and planar density, right? Linear density means it is a line. Along that line, how many number of atoms are present? If more number of atoms are present, that means density of atom is more. Their density of atom is more means atom are closely packed. Yes or no? Similarly, plane means it is a planar density. That means in that particular plane, more number of atoms are present. If in a particular plane, more number of atoms are present, density is more. That means they are closely packed. In that particular area, atoms are closely packed because more number of atoms are there. In a plane, suppose less number of atoms will be present. That means they will be far away from one another. Density is less. So where density will be less, the sleep will never occur. So sleep only occurs in sleep plane and sleep directions. So what is sleep plane? Sleep planes are closed packed plane and sleep directions are closed packed directions. In another way, you can say the atomic density is higher in that plane and atomic density is higher in that particular direction. Yes, you understood now? Right? And sleep direction is this one. This is sleep direction. Okay? So in this way you can see there is no change in the shape of the unit cells, they remain same. The unit cells have only glide over one another or slipped over one another, that's all. But there will be a what? External shape change. Just see, it was the initial shape was this one, but now the shape was like this. Right? I can join them. This is a straight line shape. Fine. And I told sleep occurs if dislocations move or glides, right? And you remember, if dislocation will finally come out to the surface, what we get? Anybody remember from the previous lecture? Dislocation will completely come out. It is not hanging inside the material. It is coming out to the surface. It will form a step. Just you can check. It will form a step, like stairs, one stairs. It will form a step, right? You can check it. In one diagram I have shown you the dislocation is coming out completely to the surface. It forms a step. Here you can write it. When dislocations, you can write when dislocations come out to the surface, it forms step. Those are called slip steps. When dislocation comes out to the surface of the material, it forms a step. That means more number of dislocation coming out to the surface, more number of steps will be there. Steps means you understand, staircases kind of thing. Stairs. Those are called slip steps. Can you people see some steps here? See, this is one step, right? These are steps, right? Like stairs. You can see the steps. Here also. This is one. On a step, right? So when sleep occurs, you will get 6 steps kind of thing. And why it is occurring, you can simply explain that dislocation is gliding and it is coming to the surface. So it is forming steps. So more number of dislocation coming to the surface, more number of steps will be available, right? That can also be visible through microscope also. That is very interesting. You can ask ma'am to do that, but I don't think so. How to get those things? Okay, let me tell you. You take a polycrystalline material. You take one polycrystalline material. These are grain and grain boundaries, you know that, right? And you plastically deform it. Not so high, a less deformation you give. So what will happen? It will become somewhat elongated. Anyways. But initially this is undeformed. Undeformed alloy. This is deformed alloy. Maybe some people ask, when we do permanent deformation or plastic deformation, should the crystalline structure destroyed? The answer is no. The material remains crystalline. Even after plastic deformation, material remains crystalline. It do not become amorphous. Because we can classify the materials according to crystalline and amorphous. You remember? Right? So material never become amorphous on plastic deformation. It will remain crystalline. How it can be justified? Because the grain will be available. The grain structure will not destroy. You can see initially you have grain structure, finally also you have grain structure. But there will be a length. The grain will become elongated in that particular direction. Right? What you can see, there is nothing here, but after this you can get something like this. You will get small lines like this. These are nothing but your slip steps or slip line. People call it slip lines or slip steps. You can try it. What can be done? You take an alloy first. You polish it completely. You take the image through optical microscope. You will get grain and grain boundaries, right? Then you do what? Same alloy, after polishing you deform it, but deform it slightly. If you deform it more, then you cannot able to see those things. You deform it very, like you can go for 2% reduction, right? You can go for 2% reduction. Reduction means initial thickness will be reduced to only 2% reduction will be there, right? Then you can again check the structure. You will get these kind of lines inside the grains, right? That means you are getting that line means over there only slip is happening. That's why you are getting some steps. Those lines you are getting because of deformation is happening along that plane and direction only. Right? You can do that also if you want. You can ask ma'am, I don't think so. If ma'am will allow, you can do that. You can check the slip lines. Okay, fine. We will discuss now mechanism of plastic deformation quickly. So we can have 3 mechanisms. Okay, 4 mechanisms. One is slip, one is twinning, one is eye bolt, one is grip. So these are the 4 mechanisms by which material can plastically deform, or you can permanently deform a material. These are mechanisms. mechanism of plastic deformation, or in other way, mechanism of permanent deformation. Right? But this one, you have to remember, this one occurs while the material is in service. We do not do anything. You make a component. For example, you people know boiler tubes, boilers. Boilers means in power plants where we provide steam to the turbines and turbine rotate and you generate electricity. So those pipelines are carrying what basically? Steams or what, very high temperature water at very high temperature, or there is actually steam flows, right? The temperature will be like 650 or 550, very high temperature. That means steam is flowing inside the pipes or tubes, and the tube is made up of steam. So with time what happened? That material can fail by creep, by permanent deformation. It will automatically fail because of high temperature, right? And because of movement of vacancies. I told you once, vacancies are not good for our material sometimes. That leads to failure, and that failure is called creep failure. You can check it if you want. You have already written that. Vacancies are sometimes good, sometimes not good. Good in the sense you can make homogenization, that is good. But if vacancy helps in the failure of the material, then that is not good. We don't want to fail our material, right, during the service, right? So this basically you have to remember, creep occurs during the service, where the temperature is very high. In another way I can say turbine blades. The turbine blades are also failed by this creep. Single crystal, the creep will occur. Creep basically means it is a permanent deformation, but it occurs at high temperature, but the load is constant. The load acting on the material is constant. You have to remember a few points, you can write. Creep is a permanent deformation under constant load. Creep is a permanent deformation under constant load, which occurs at high temperature, and need more duration of time. Creep is a permanent deformation which occurs at high temperature, needs more interval or more duration of time. But load acting on material is constant. So you just imagine, can we fail a material under constant load? Is it possible? It is not possible. Suppose I am applying this is a material, I am applying a load on it and it is constant. It will fail, it will never fail. If I will increase the load, it will fail at a time, right? When it cannot withstand the load, it will fail. But I am not increasing the load is constant. And interesting part is, you might think load is very high, that's why it is also failing. No. This load acting on the material is such that the stress is below yield stress. How it is possible? The material will fail. If the material is below yield stress, it will not deform. Is it deform? It will never deform, right? Just check the stress versus strain curve. If the load or if the stress is below yield stress, there will be no permanent deformation. And if material is ductile, it has to first deform plastically, then it will fail. It will become fracture at the end. But I told, creep is a failure mechanism, or it is a plastic deformation. But under constant load, and you can write one point, the stress acting on the material is below yield stress. That is very interesting. The stress acting on the material is below yield stress. You might think, how plastic deformation will happen? If the stress is below yield stress, it is not possible. The plastic deformation will not start. Not start, right? But still it will start, because just you can check the lines, you will get the answer. Two points are important. Temperature is there. Temperature is there, right? And time. You have to give sufficient time and you have to give sufficient temperature. You people know that yield stress also decreases with increasing in the temperature. Right? Yield stress also decreases with increasing in the temperature. I will discuss that in the coming lecture. That is very interesting. Forget about that. And you can also say dislocation movements becomes easy at high temperature. That is the answer actually. And you can also say the diffusion becomes easy at high temperature. So these are some points you can write. One point you can write, yield stress decreases with temperature. Yield stress decreases with temperature. And second point you can write, dislocation movement will be easy at high temperature. And you can also write, diffusion also become easy at high temperature. Diffusion of what? Diffusion of vacancies, right? These are the important points. That means in other way I can say creep is a plastic deformation which occurs automatically in the material. We are not doing anything. The material is at high temperature and for long duration of time it is automatically happening. So it is a very slow process. It is a very slow process. That means you cannot identify when creep will be there. It will automatically fail the material. Suppose you have a tube which is carrying very high temperature steam. It may fail after 30 years, but you will not get when it will fail. It may get fail at 15 years, but it will not fail in 1 hour, 2 hours, or some 10 years or 5 years. It may take 30 years, 40 years. It will fail. The failure mechanism is the creep. It is okay now? Okay, next is Martin-Cyclic transformation. In this transformation, I told one thing is there. So here, you can write no change in crystal structure. As I told, after plastic deformation, crystal structure never changes. It remains as such. Right? Suppose your material is made up of HCP. After failure also your material is HCP. There will be no change. But this is the exception, Martin-Cyclic transformation. Anybody remember Martin-Cyclic transformation starts from which phase? What is the parent phase? Austenite, gamma, right? You are taking the steel to the high temperature, it becomes gamma, austenite. You quench it. So what will happen? Gamma becomes Martensite, right? And you remember the structure of Martensite and structure of gamma. Gamma is FCC, austenite is always FCC, face-centered cubic. And when it becomes Martensite, it become either BCC or BCT or HCP. Three types of Martensites are there. So basically, which we are dealing with, that is BCT. BCT means body centered tetragonal. So initially the structure was FCC, and due to this plastic deformation, it is becoming BCT, body centered tetragonal. So permanent deformation has happened, but crystal structure has changed. Why it is changing? Because of formation of this martensite only. In the material, the phase completely changes. And you understand, one phase and another phase difference is what? They have different crystal structures, right? If austenite was there, and austenite will remain austenite after deformation, that means there is no change in structure. Crystal structure remains same. But here what is happening? Austenite is not remaining austenite. It is becoming something else, that is martensite. And martensite crystal structure is BCT. But austenite crystal structure is FCC. So in this kind of plastic deformation, you have a change in crystal structure. That is the only exception we have. You can write. That means it occurs basically by what? Or by what I can write? Phase transformation, you remember? So Martensite transformation occurs by phase transformation, which occurs during the heat treatment. Right? The name of the heat treatment, anybody remember? Let me see. Hardening heat treatment, very good, hardening. Right? We are austenitizing the steel, then we are quenching. That is called hardening heat treatment. Very good. Right? So, and this is the exception where crystal structure changes. And I can write simply gamma becomes, or FCC becomes BCC, or it can become BCC, or it can become HCC. So basically this one is equal to BCT. Okay, anyways, now sleep and twinning. I have given you a video, just you can check it from the YouTube right now. Okay, you can connect the video with this one. Can anybody connect? Okay, you can connect it. Sleep and twin. In the end semester, you might get a question: difference between sleep and difference between twin, right? Or you can get a question like, in what condition twinning will happen, in what condition sleep will happen. Right? Okay, you want a new page? You also can write, in case of sleep and twinning, there is also no change in crystal structures. You can write it. In sleep and twinning also there is no change in crystal structures. That is very interesting video. This one is a very interesting video. The name twinning is very interesting. Twins, right? Twins means what? Twins means two people looks alike completely. Their face, their appearance, everything is alike, right? So same thing happens in the materials also. The plastic deformation will happen, and two parts will look same.
And one second.
Or I can say, suppose
network. ब्लूटूथ नहीं पे हॉटस्पॉट ऑन करता
Device connection.
so this video is about your sleep and twinning in physics. Can you start again from the beginning? Can you switch off that? You start again.
पेटी अच्छी पेटी अच्छी
So, identification ratio, that occurs by the movement of lens lesions along fluid lanes. And so this doesn't show individuals way down the fluid.
Okay, start again. Okay, please sign it. Okay, हाँ. It's worth pointing out that if this structure was different to the parent structure, then this would have been a marked difference. In this demonstration, we're going to illustrate deformation twinning using these two bars of pressure class tin. So tin has a tetragonal crystal structure, which is of much lower symmetry than most metals, which makes distribution motion more difficult and therefore favours deformation twinning. So I'm going to take one of these bars and we're going to heat it up using pressure bowl water. She has taken hot water and she will dip a tin bar. So we're going to leave that there for just a little while, and in the meantime, we're going to take this bar. And she has a tin bar at room temperature. We're going to do that quite close to the light. Releasing the sound. Can you repeat it again? So now I'm going to take the one that's been heating up a little while, and in the meantime, I'm going to take this bar that's just at room temperature and I'm going to bend it. I'm going to do that quite close to the microphone, and you should be able to hear why in a second. There is a sound that is called tin crack. So now I'm going to take the one that's been heating up and do exactly the same thing to it. There is no sound in this. We'll consider the room temperature case first. When I bent the bar, deformation twinning took place, and we heard a characteristic crackling noise known as tin cry. The reason we heard this noise is because during deformation twinning, the atoms move very rapidly, all at the same time, which generates a sound wave. So this is illustrated. Just see how twinning is happening. When we press start, a twin will be formed, the atoms will move, and the sound wave will generate. You'll have noticed that no noise was generated in the sample at 100 degrees. The reason for this Can you repeat again the video twinning? Yeah. Let's see what is happening during the twinning. How deformation is happening.
We'll consider the room temperature case first. When I bent the bar, deformation twinning took place, and we heard a characteristic crackling noise known as tin cry. The reason we heard this noise is because during deformation twinning, the atoms move very rapidly, all at the same time, which generates a sound wave. So this is illustrated schematically in a very simple animation. When we press start, a twin will be formed, the atoms will move, and the sound wave will be generated.
Can you pause it? Just go back and.
When we press start, a twin will be formed, the atoms will move, and the sound wave will be generated.
You can see what is happening in the twinning. In the twinning, there is no notion of dislocations. Dislocations do not move during the twinning. Dislocation only moves during the slip. The slip is one mechanism of plastic deformation where dislocations moves. Extra half plane of atom moves, right? And it forms steps, right? But in case of twinning, there is no movement of dislocations. What is happening? You can see. Together, lot of atoms move simultaneously in one direction. Right? You can see in this part, this one. Okay, here. They move to the bottom. right? Together at a time, and speed is also very high. So together, there are lot of atoms are moving in one direction at a high speed. That leads to the twinning. Right? But you can see again after twinning, there is no change in the crystal structure. This part is untwinned. This part is untwinned, but this part is twinned. You have to remember, right? So there will be a boundary, obviously, untwinned part and twinned part. There is a boundary between twinned and untwinned, right? So if you carefully look at the untwinned and twinned, they are mirror images of one another. Twins, what I told, twins means they look alike, right? Suppose you stand in front of a mirror, you will see yourself only, right? That is a twin of yours, you can say. Same thing happens. The untwinned part and twinned part are mirror image of one another, right? That's why it is called twinning. And in twinning, there is no movement of dislocation. So only group of atoms move at a very high speed in the same direction at the same time. You can also go back and you can also see again what is happening.
Notice to go to tier 1 and
Because many people try to remember what is twinning, the definition, they do not remember those definitions. So if you remember this video, you can write in examination what happens during the twinning.
and if you are quite close to the microphone, you should go to tier 1 and
Just pause it. You are hearing a sound, right? That means when the structure of tin is what? You remember? Tetragonal or diamond cubic. But it changes also its phase. Below 13.2 and you remember now? Tetragonal, yes. In room temperature, what is the structure? Room temperature is above 13.2. It is BCD. Below 13.2? Right, very good. So that means in room temperature, if you take a tin and it is bending in, it is deforming plastically. There is a permanent deformation, right? So when it happens, what happens? A sound comes out because of twinning only. In twinning, what happens? Lot of atoms are moving in one direction at a high speed. That's why it is producing some sound, right? And it do not happen in, suppose you take a copper bar or aluminium bar, you bend it. You will not get this kind of sound. Why? Because in that case, sleep is happening. But in case of tin, twinning is happening. You understand my point? So where there will be twin, there is a sound kind of thing. The sound will come out. Where there is a sleep, there is no sound, basically. And why this happens? I told once. Why this happens? Because of less number of sleep system. You have to remember. So twinning happens in that condition where there will be less number of sleep systems. Right? You can play the video. Sleep systems, right? In HCP or in like tetragonals, if you check the sleep systems, okay, you can end this video. You can go to the last one, plot. Last plot. Stop it. Can we remove this one? Stop it. You can just see. This is tau critical. That means shear stress. Tau is the shear stress. Shear stress required for the deformation versus temperature. Just see the graph. Which one is easy and which one is difficult? Tau critical means how much amount of shear stress is required to do deformation with respect to temperature. I told if temperature will be more and more, you require a less stress. If you do deformation at room temperature, you require more stress. So tau critical will be more at room temperature, but tau critical will be less at high temperature. And I told two things are happening, either sleep may occur or twinning may occur. So what is the relation? You can just check it. The orange one was twinning and the black one was sleep and the blue one was also for sleep. That means with increasing the temperature, you can see the black line and blue line are moving down. Yes, that means tau critical is becoming less and less and less with temperature, with increasing the temperature. just check it. The blue line and the dark black line is going down. That means y-axis is tau critical. That means shear stress required for the deformation is going down. You need a less shear stress, right, to deform metal plastically, right? So with increasing in the temperature, that means sleep will be easy. You understand my point now? Sleep will be easy if temperature will be high. But if temperature will be low, then twinning will be easy. Just see the orange curve. So in another way, I can say, if you have less number of slip systems, then twinning is the maximum chance will happen in the material, which is the cause of plastic deformation or mechanism of plastic deformation. But if you have more number of slip systems, like in FCC and BCC, right? You remember how many slip systems in FCC? 12 active slip systems, and BCC also 12 active ones. But in FCP only 3, right? So since FCC materials and BCC materials have more number of slip systems, maximum chance is plastic deformation happens by the slip mechanism, right? But in case of HCP, like titanium, like here in tin, that is something else, body-centered tetragonal, right? They have very less number of slip systems. And second point I told, even if you have more number of slip system maybe, but temperature is very low, then what will happen? Twinning or slip? Twinning will happen. So at low temperature means maybe below room temperature, or maybe below 0 degree centigrade, for example. In that condition, twinning is easy, not slip. It may have more number of slip system, but twinning may happens, right? So these are the points you have to remember, right? And another one is strain rate. Nobody have asked me what is strain rate. It is written strain rate. See, black line is for slip, blue line is also for slip, but one is written low strain rate, high strain rate. Strain, you people know what is strain? Delta L by L 0, right? Change in length by original length, right? And rate means divided by time. So just see with relation to the temperature what is happening. And this one, okay. This one is high strain rate, right? And this one is low strain rate. That means if you are giving high strain rate to a material, high strain rate to a material means what? That means you want to pull it faster rate, at a fast rate. You want to change delta L by L at a faster rate. You understand my point? You want to elongate the metal at a faster rate because time is less, delta L by L is more, right? So in that condition what happens? Twinning will happen. That means at high strain rate, twinning is more favorable. But if you are pulling it at a very slow rate, the change in length is very less with time. You are giving more time, but change in length is less. So in that condition, sleep is preferred. Okay, final conclusion I am saying, 3 points I have told. One is temperature relation, one is slip system relation, one is strain rate relation. So first condition I am saying, if slip system will be more in the material, sleep is easy, not twinning, right? So plastic deformation occurs by sleep mechanism if slip system will be more, right? Second condition I told, if temperature is high or temperature is low. If temperature is higher, then sleep is easy, twinning is difficult, right? Or if temperature is low, then twinning will be there, sleep will be not there, right? And the third condition I told, strain rate. Whether you want to pull a material at a very fast rate or slow rate. If you are pulling at a material at a very fast rate, then twinning will happen. If you pull it at a very slow rate, then sleep will occur. So these are the difference between sleep and twinning. And common thing is what? In both cases, both are mechanism of plastic deformation. There is a permanent deformation will occur, but there will be no change in crystal structure. That is the common thing you have. And any other difference? In sleep, dislocation moves. If dislocation moves, sleeps will occur. But if dislocation will not move, a group of atoms will slide at the same time, at a fast rate. That is called twinning. That is the difference. You have seen the video. You can see the video again and again if you want. You will get the answer. And in twinning, another thing is there. There will be twins, as I told. One will be mirror image of another. Because you have untwinned part and a twinned part. So untwinned part will be mirror image of twin. Or twin will be mirror image of untwin. Right? Just mirror image. But in case of sleep, there is nothing twin happens. There is no mirror image. They do not look alike. Right? Okay, you can end this video. Okay, you can stop the recording.